Will we please stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the
Allegiance
flag
to the
of the
flag
United
of the
States of
United States of America and to the
which
republic for which it
stands one
stands,
nation,
one nation, under God,
liberty and
indivisible,
justice
with
for all.
liberty.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our special meeting of the Board of Finance. I want to thank the board for making yourself available tonight. We didn't have this meeting scheduled until last week. We didn't think we would have a meeting in July, but we all knew that it was certainly a possibility because things do come up. And as in the case, a couple of things did. Specifically, two voting items that the Board of Selectmen did vote on, and the RTM will vote on Monday, the 26th. So we needed to meet, and I'm glad we were able to accommodate. We should get August off, though. Don't see anything coming up for August. So again, thank you, everyone, for being here. So we're going to go to item number 3, and I'll read the motion. We'll put it before us. And we have Ms. Julie DeMarco here to present. So item number 3, to hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Resolve that as part of the Bigelow Center for Senior Activities 5-year bus replacement plan, funds be and hereby are expended in the amount of $67,000 to purchase a handicap accessible 9-seat bus with a wheelchair lift to improve mobility for seniors and individuals with disabilities. 100% of said purchase to be funded by a traditional 5310 capital senior bus grant under section 5310 of the Federal Transit Act Enhanced Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities program as administered by the state of Connecticut. And further resolve that First Select Woman Brenda L. Kupchak is authorized to make, execute, and approve on behalf of the town of Fairfield any and all contracts or amendments thereof to secure said grant. Can I put this motion before us, please? Mr. DeWitt, and seconded by Mr. Testani. So this grant is in motion, is now before us, and we did have plenty of backup to support the request. So Ms. DeMarco, we'll turn it over to you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Perfect. By the end of the pandemic, I will be able to work video and audio at the same time. I'm just not there. I also wanted to thank you very much for hearing us on this item now. We got the announcement of the grant in late June, and it's due in the beginning of August, so that you're able to hear it and vote on it and pass it on to the RTM if it's favorable. Means a lot to us. Thank you. So this is a grant, another bus grant. We do these every 2 years. What's different about this grant this year is that it covers 100% of the cost. You may remember that in previous years we covered 20% of the cost of a bus with our donations. This year they are covering 100% of the cost if we are lucky enough to receive the grant. We are replacing a 2011, if we're lucky, a 2011 bus that is a natural gas bus. It has 67,000+ miles on it, and it's outlived its useful life. The town no longer services or provides fuel for natural gas vehicles, so this is sitting in the yard unused, and I'm very happy to get rid of it. The bus we're replacing it with will be a 9-seat bus rather than a 13-seat bus. It will still carry 2 wheelchairs. We are trying to see, if we get this grant, we are going to get the smaller bus to try to see if we continue to need larger buses. This is a 9-seater. We often have buses that have 4 or 5 people on them. To have a 9-seater to be able to go to medical appointments or other activities makes sense to us. I think the wave of the future is that at some point GBT will be able to offer some kind of on-demand service, and this bus could be part of that. But we have 4 other great 13-seat buses, and I'd love to try and see what a 9-seater is and what that does for us. You'll see on all of the paperwork, if you had a chance to read it, that this bus is 30% more efficient because of the gas use. It's smaller, able to get into smaller spaces and smaller streets. We're going along with our 5-year replacement plan. Every 5 years we replace several buses, but every 2 years we apply for the grant. So over the course of 5 years, we're just kind of rejuvenating the whole fleet. I think any questions? I think that's all I got on the bus, but I'd love to answer any questions you have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. DeMarco. Any questions from the board?
Just one, Jim.
Mr. Testani?
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Julie, how are you?
Great. How you doing?
Thanks for coming tonight. Just a quick question. What's going to happen to the old bus? Do you know how the town gets rid of it? Is there any kind of value that the town can realize from the old bus at all? Is it totaled, or like what's the circumstance on the old bus?
Great question. And this year I have an answer for you, Jack. What happens when we are done with a bus, we put it on the municipal auction site and auction it off. The bus we replaced last year was purchased. I don't know that purchase price, but whatever the town gets for it goes into the general fund.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all I have for now, Jim. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from the board? It's hard to argue with a full grant.
I agree.
Okay, so this motion is before us. Seeing no other questions, we will take a vote. All those in favor of this motion and item say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstention. So it is unanimous in favor. Mr. Marco, thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Julie.
Okay, we'll go to item number 4. To hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Resolved that the bond resolution entitled a resolution appropriating $196,192 for the purchase and installation of fire station alerting and radio equipment to process voice and data for fire station notification of emergencies, and authorizing the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, be and hereby is approved. Can I put this motion before us, please? Mr. Mottola, seconded by Ms. Charlton. Thank you. This motion is before us. Chief McCarthy, thank you for being here tonight and presenting this item. And Chief Caliper's here, correct?
Yep.
Good to see you. Thank you both for being here tonight. And we'll turn this over to you.
Okay, very good. And thank you very much for hearing this item. This is a timing issue for us to sync up with the development of the Regional Communications Center with the Police Department and our partners from Police and Fire and EMS in Westport. First, let me recognize Assistant Chief Caliper's contributions to this project. We're very fortunate to have an in-house expert that can help divine all of the, or sort through all of the issues that are very technical in nature and be able to navigate multiple vendors and products to come up with the best solution for the town of Fairfield. The reason why this is before you is because this is 2 parts of this station alerting project. The first phase is funded for $259,000 in the ECC budget, the capital project budget. And that $259,000 is split evenly with the town of Westport in order to fund the backbone of the station alerting system that will serve both us and the town of Fairfield. The second part, the part that's before you, phase 2, has been resident in the radio project proposal that's been in the capital forecast waterfall for 4 or 5 years. And we haven't, we have worked diligently to bring that project to maturity. But most recently, since the beginning of the year, the town and police and fire department have focused on getting the ECC Communication Center up and running. And at the same time, the police department has been searching for grant funding for the radio project. And to avoid rushing to a town-funded solution before we exhausted all of those grant opportunities, that project stalled. Part of that project is the $196,000 request, and it's been in that project from the beginning, that $196,000 request to fund the Fairfield portion of the station alerting. The town of Westport has a similar expenditure for its 5 locations that they will have to provide station alerting. So we both take advantage of the $259,000 backbone that we're funding equally, and are left to seek funding for the equipment that will operate in our 5 fire stations to receive that signal and data and provide redundancy, so we're compliant with all of the regulations for emergency notification. Chief Caliper is here to answer any questions you may have regarding the technical side and the equipment, but I wanted to give you a broad overview of why this issue is before you at this point. And with that, I will turn it back to you for questions.
Thank you, Chief McCarthy. Chief Caliper, do you have anything to add at this point?
I do not, sir. Obviously, the chief explained we did vet this, and this infrastructure upgrade in the fire stations will be needed and required to support the fire station alerting upgrade for their new regional 911 center.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the board? All the backup, we received our 14 points. Thank you for putting that together, as well as the quotations that are itemized out. So it's pretty direct. And the summary that you gave us. So we took time to read them. It's pretty self-explanatory, and we needed to get this before us, before September, which is why we met tonight, get this thing going. So are there any questions at all? If not, I'm going to read the bonding resolution and put this before us, and we'll take a vote. Okay. So a resolution appropriating $196,192 for the purchase and installation of fire station alerting and radio equipment to process voice and data for fire station notification of emergencies and authorizing the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation. As recommended by the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen, the town of Fairfield hereby appropriates a sum of $196,192 for costs related to the purchase and installation of fire station alerting and radio equipment to process voice and data for fire station emergency notifications, which costs include but are not limited to radio system interface, equipment installation and cellular connectivity, as well as all related administrative, financing, legal, contingency, and other soft costs, which is the project, on a 10-year bonding resolution. So can I have a motion to put this resolution before us, please? Ms. Marmion, seconded by Ms. Charlton. Any questions for the board before we vote, or from the board? Seeing none, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Should do it. Okay. It is unanimous approval. So this bonding resolution will move on to the RTM, on Monday night, and good luck with this project.
And thank you again
Thank you,
for
Chief.
hearing this on a hot summer night, and hope you enjoy the month of August off.
Well, thank you all for all your hard work as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 5, which is a transfer. So item number 5, to hear, consider, and act upon a request from the Purchasing Policy Committee to transfer $3,000 from the general fund contingency to the Board of Finance fees and professional services budget for work on the new purchasing policy. Can I have a motion to put this before us, please? Mr. DeWitt, seconded by Ms. Charlton. Okay, this item is before us. Mr. DeWitt, as Chair of the Purchasing Policy Committee, I will turn this over to you.
Thank you very much, Chris DeWitt. Yeah, last meeting, I believe we did get a report from Mr. Centofanti about the purchasing policies. Basically, he said, you know, the money that we had provided, which was $10,000, is inadequate to finish the proposal, you know, to finish the policy. So what I was asked to do after the last meeting by the chairman was to speak to Ms. Bossy and understand if there's any funds available for us to continue the work. Excuse me. And what I did is I reached out to Mr. Centofanti, and he has spent an additional $3,000 over the $10,000 allocated for a total of $13,000. This $3,000, we're going to move this money. This is fiscal 2021 money. Move it from general contingency to Board of Finance fees and professional services. This will pay Mr. Centofanti up for fiscal year 20 and 21. And Ms. Charlton and I are going to provide an additional clarification to him, to Mr. Centofanti, exactly what he needs to do to finish the policy. And then he will give us another estimate to complete the project. And then we'll come before you with a resolution to, again, move the funds in fiscal 21-22.
Thank you, Mr. DeWitt. Anyone have, Ms. Charlton, do you have anything to add, or that covers it?
Yeah, I think that just to make it clear, the $3,000 will cover work that's already been completed, and that work was for Mr. Centofanti's review of the existing purchasing policy. So he reviewed it, and as Mr. DeWitt said, he provided an extensive report with comments and suggestions that covered proposed changes to the policy, additions that needed to be added to the policy, et cetera. So the $3,000 covers work that he completed in good faith so that he could meet our deadline. And as Mr. DeWitt indicated, you know, given there's more work to be done to now implement all those recommendations, and we would like to come back before the board and once we get an estimate from Mr. Centofanti on how he can assist the town in getting this completed. So that's that will happen at a future date, but this $3,000 is to cover work he already put in.
We
Thank you, Ms.
certainly hope
Charlton.
to do that in our September meeting, Mr. Brown.
To do what, Mr. DeWitt? What do we want to accomplish
To
in
give you
September?
to get Mr. Centofanti's number to complete the effort, and then you know, right now in fiscal 21-22, we don't have any funds to pay Mr. Centofanti, so we would move whatever funds are required out of contingency to our fees and professional services for this fiscal year to complete.
So will there be any additional work happening before September, so we can get this policy hopefully completed in the fall?
Oh, yes. So there certainly will be. Well, we will be doing some efforts, primarily answering the town side. Mr. Centofanti had a ton of questions. The rest of July and probably a good part of August will be answering his questions And then after we can appropriate the money for the funds, Mr. Santafanti will update the policy with the answers to his questions. And then Mr. Santafanti also had some fairly large additions that he wanted to put into the document. He's going to handle that for us. But what I owe him, so he can give me a real, or the purchasing policy committee, which is Ms. Charlton, I owe Mr. Santafanti, is just an overview of what exactly we expect him to do.
Okay. No, this became kind of a monster, right? I mean, a lot of work went into this, and the more we started, the more we dug in, the more work we found had to happen. So, thank you both, and thank the administration for putting the effort in. We can get this done in the fall. I think we can close it out, so it's all set for the 2022, right? As we move into 2022.
Great.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. DeWitt or Ms. Charlton, Mr. Testani?
Yeah, thank you, Jim. So just so I understand, the 3,000 we're out appropriating tonight, right? I understand it's a transfer, but were we underestimated? I don't know. That seems like a lot to be short in what we had already allocated. That's question one. And then question two is, what if next week he comes back to you and says, you know what, it's really 4,500. It's not 3,500. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
when does it, then we have another allocation, if I understand correctly, that we're going to have to appropriate to have him finish. Did I understand that piece of it as well?
Mr. DeWitt?
Yeah, that's correct. So let me answer your middle question first. The number of 3,000 is not going to change. This is billable hours that were accomplished in the last fiscal year. So this $3,000 allocation will just pay him for what he's already completed. Now, your first question, was this just an underestimation of the effort? Yes, that's exactly what this was.
Okay.
We had provided some information to Mr. Santafanti, and listen, and I trust him implicitly. I mean, he spent a lot of time on this. He had some people in his office working on this, so we just underestimated it. And as far as a follow-on, yes, we are going to get another number to complete the effort. I'm thinking it's probably going to be in the same kind of ballpark. Maybe the total spend will be 20,000 for this effort, which, to be honest with you, I think is a bargain, to be honest with you. But I don't want to quote a real number until we give Mr. Santafanti a specific finished statement of work.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Ms.
Chair, can I?
Charlton?
Yeah, and just to provide some additional context, the document that he reviewed for us was 85 pages of a policy, so it was very extensive. There were a significant number of comments, so it was clear that a lot of effort went into it, and the comments were substantive and very helpful, I believe. And I think when we're done with this, we're going to have a much better product. Right now the policy is big, it's cumbersome, it's redundant, it includes a lot of stuff it doesn't need to include. It's missing stuff it needs to include. And so the thought process was, we got these comments from him. He's done. He provided us a report. So to Jack's question, the $3,000 was for him to deliver a set of comments to us, and that's done. So we're done with that piece. But our thought process was, we really feel like the town needs some help to get this thing over the finish line, particularly producing new sections. I mean, this, in my personal opinion, is the perfect type of project that we should be outsourcing. We need some outside help. It's just, it's a lot of work. It requires a certain level of expertise. We are a year into this. We got these original comments a year ago. It's been dragging on. And we think that, once the town has the chance to digest the comments and answer some questions, getting that outside assistance in another phase to help us finish this thing will result in, just a quicker process and a better process, and give us a product that is, helpful for the town, protects the town, and the administration and all of us as elected officials. So that's the thought process. But in order for Mr. Centofanti to give us that quote for that last phase, we have to define specifically what we want him to do based on the comments he provided. So it's a little work to get to that. As Chris said, it'll take us some time because it involves sifting through some of his comments, but we'll get there. And I think when all is said and done, given the significance of this policy, it touches, all the money that we spend in this town, quite frankly, touches the Board of Ed and the town. It's really important. I hope we will all feel that it's money well spent at the end of the day. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DeWitt?
Yeah, no, very eloquently said by my committee co-chair. And one other thing that I think is very important and very relevant. Prior to Mr. Centofanti looking at this document, we did not have a correlation back to the original audit findings, which coincidentally Mr. Centofanti did. So in this data dump, which was voluminous, right? He actually went back and tracked what part of this document is answering which audit finding. And that has been tremendously helpful for me looking at the document to say, are we 85% there? Are we? Frankly, I was happily surprised to see we had addressed as many audit findings as we did, and the additions that Mr. Centofanti wants to make, I think, will bring us close to meeting all of the audit findings that this policy can possibly achieve.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. DeWitt. Mr. Testani, any follow-up, or does that answer your question?
Sorry, that's good, Jim. Thank you.
Any further questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, this motion is before us for this transfer. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it is unanimous, unanimous approval. So thank you, Mr. DeWitt. Thank you, Ms. Charlton. And, I know the administration's working on this too. So a lot of work, but we have to get it right. So it's worth the investment and the time.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're on item number 6, which is to adjourn. Unless it's only 8 o'clock and we all like to chat and talk about, assuming that's not the case, we will go to item number 6. And can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Motion by Mr. Fogel, seconded by Mr. DeWitt. All those in favor say aye.
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 And that is a unanimous as always. So have a good night, everybody. Have a good rest of the summer.
Thank
And
you,
perhaps
everybody.
we'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.